Sadie Sink from Stranger Things, speaking of D&D, is already confirmed to be joining the new Spider-Man film. So that brings into many questions. Who could she be playing? So some early contentions: Jean Grey from the X-Men, of course. Black Cat, she's a Spider-Man character who has not been used yet in live action. Or Mary Jane. Now, everybody's gonna be like, well, Spider-Man's already in love with Zendaya's character, but she's not technically Mary Jane, as in like, so we could make that work. Who would you want to see her play, or do you have any other options?
Well, I love the romance between him and Zendaya, so we don't want to break that up. Like, I think
agree.
that would create a lot of turmoil with the fans, and it would cost too much to try to pay off for something that we don't know if it would succeed. But what about Spidey Gwen too? She's not in the MCU yet, is she?
No. No, she's not in the MCU. She's in like the Spider-Verse movies. So I think once they do like the Secret Wars and they can bring in Miles Morales, they'll bring her in too, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only other person I was thinking. Or, like you were saying, I'd seen people online saying maybe she'll be Jean Grey also. She's kind of young, though, to play Jean Grey's character, right? Isn't Jean Grey not a student, but a teacher at, when we jump in,
when we jumped in on those ones, yeah.
Okay, yeah, she could be.
Multiple times in the comic books, they go back to like when they're all kind of younger. Yeah. She'd easily play one of those. I think she would be good for any of those roles. Mm-hmm. People are also saying, I had a lot of people commenting when I posted this up on Threads, Firestar. I'm like, okay, that's good. I mean, and Marvel with this character could definitely go with something a little bit deeper, and that would be fine. But I think Jean Grey is the best way to do it, because then suddenly you're bringing in an X-Men without having to bring in all the X-Men, and we're just kind of trickling in our X-Men here and there. We've already got Beast, we already got Wolverine. Yeah. We're just kind of being reintroduced to all of our X-Men again.
And I think they're trying to establish, like, she's definitely not going to be a romantic love interest of his or something like that, because that would just be a small, pivot off of his character, a small, like, I don't know, side character to him. But I think they'll use her because she's a recognizable, face and name, and she's, big right now from Stranger Things and whatnot, that they would make her a new, like, anchor character, a new staple. So I think Jean Grey is a perfect character for her to play to fit that role and to help, move forward with the MCU in the future, because we have a lot of great but aging actors playing some of our most famous characters, and characters that we've seen on screen, honestly, a lot. So it's just a matter of time before they got to start moving into a new generation to keep people's interest. So, yeah, I could see them kind of pivoting with her.
And she hasn't been in a lot of things. So there is this level of like, well, she's recognizable, but not known for another role. Typecast, there's the word I'm looking for. She's not typecast yet. So it's really a good time to bring her in. And I mean, she does a hell of a good job in Stranger Things that last season when she's like floating up, when she's listening to the music and that breaks her and stuff.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Running and trying to break free from the Mind Flayer, right?
No, that one is Vecna.
Vecna, that's right.
Gotta learn our D&D names, Jalen.
Right.
All right, let's get into the next story. Before we do that, your camera's fucking up again, so just heads up on that if I'm not like reacting to something you do. It's because I can't see you.
Okay.
That's fine. You write down the time to that. All right. Next, BlizzCon is returning in 2026. So what sucks is we have to wait a year for it, but it is returning. And this time it's going to be fully under Microsoft Gaming, so they're actually going to be kind of the one putting it on, really. A couple of things that I'm hoping for out of this new BlizzCon. First off, obviously we're going there. That's a given. But when Phil Spencer and Microsoft acquired Blizzard, one of the things that Phil himself said is that he's a big fan of the StarCraft franchise. The fact that they're not bringing up BlizzCon this year, but we're waiting for next year, I have a sneaking suspicion that they're going to announce a new StarCraft. You played StarCraft back in the day, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that a game you would come back to? I know you're not much of a Blizzard player right now. Would you come back for that one?
Yeah, I'm just not much of a game player. I don't have time, really. You know, maybe when my son's a little older and he's in school during the day or something like that. But I hate to just be, I can't be glued to the computer and have him standing next to me wanting to play around.
You need a computer for himself.
Right. He wanted to get on here and play Minecraft earlier today. So I was like,
oh my God, it's happening.
So he doesn't really know how to move still in the world. Before he would sit on my lap and I would do stuff and then he would like push my hands and that was kind of fun. But it's just a matter of time.
You're right.
But yeah, I think a new StarCraft would be awesome. And I would definitely get it and at least try to play it. And like you're saying, the fact that they announce, hey, we're going to do something, but give us time where you need a year to prepare for it. Very hopeful. That's a very good sign that they're not just going to, make some animations, some banners or something like that, and just try to reskin or resell something they already made. But they actually have a new project in the hopper that they're trying to, get ready for us and, capitalize on this big event that they did for so many years under a different brand. Yeah, before they got bought. But it brings a lot of attention. A lot of people want to go to it. So yeah, just create the fresh new content to show off there, and you're going to get a lot of people showing up.
I think with the last BlizzCon, 2023, which doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but I mean, it's crazy, was notably smaller than other BlizzCons. And there was this kind of aura because it was immediately after the acquisition. There was this aura of like, man, this might be the end of BlizzCons. It's definitely the end of what we think of Blizzard from the heydays. It kind of felt like this transitional phase. And I'm hoping Blizzard can somehow recapture that they went through layoffs and controversies, but it'd be nice if they could recapture this old feeling of like just a good company you wanted to support at all times. They have an uphill battle to do that. I don't know how they can make that up. I know that they already confirmed that they're going to be doing fan experiences, which is something they already do, but they're going to lean in on that more. Game reveals and esports integrations at this upcoming BlizzCon. I think a couple things they have to do. First off, yes, announce that new StarCraft, but I think they need to introduce remakes, new IPs, make BlizzCon more about announcing other games, not just, continuations of your games. As much as I absolutely love it, to bring in new people, you have to do that. And I think there needs to be some Game Pass integrations. And I think everybody who buys a ticket should get 3 months of Game Pass, something like that. You need to make it feel more like you're entering this world and you have a world of games ahead of you, and everybody that goes there is going to be playing them for the next 3 months. Yeah. And if you could integrate like World of Warcraft subscription with Game Pass, you would make everybody's day. And I think that's kind of the next step. You need to really kind of open up the doors a little bit more. And it feels like it was so exclusive that people were stopped showing up to try to get in. And now it's like you need to invite them back in fast, And
that makes sense. At this point, World of Warcraft's been online for so many years that I doubt they're making a lot of money on new subscriptions, right? I mean, the people that are playing,
it's definitely not a major part.
Yeah. So at this point, if they open it up to being accessible through Game Pass, it probably wouldn't lose them much money in subscriptions for World of Warcraft, but the amount of access that the players would be getting and people who never really thought about playing WoW but are willing to give it a shot, they might now get locked into where it's like, okay, I'm never going to let my Game Pass subscription lapse because I don't want to lose my WoW, access. So I think that's just kind of a win-win for them to do.
Makes it a lot harder to cancel that Game Pass when you have WoW attached to it or vice versa. Yeah.
Right. And I agree too. I think they should have a lot of like exclusives that they release at the convention. And it doesn't have to be, skins and DLCs and stuff like that are easy things that you can make exclusive to being at the convention, and badges and mugs and shirts and that kind of stuff. But they'll help build a camaraderie between the players that have that skin now. Oh yeah, I know that he went to the same convention I went to, and we can, BS about certain things we saw there or whatever. But it makes you feel special because you were there, the day of and stuff too.
Yeah. That's the thing with BlizzCon and a lot of conventions. It's the in real life community that you built online. And in a world right now where we're building so many online communities, it's nice to have that escape that you kind of could go and meet your friends that you haven't seen in 12 years or something like that, all at this one BlizzCon. Yeah. So we're going to be following this strictly, obviously, because we are very big fans not only of conventions, but specifically of this one. And as soon as we get more information and like hotels are booked, which Daniel already is like, should we book hotels? I'm like, no, it's 2 years from now, basically, or a year and a half or whatever. You're good because it's going to be in November again. Don't book a hotel yet.
September, right?
This one's going to be in November. BlizzCon's in November.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought the thing you sent out said September.
Absolutely could have been. And I'm double checking. It is September. Yes, you're right. It's normally November. Yeah. That threw me off. But yes, so that's new too. But yeah, the idea
she wanted to do a Disneyland trip, and now we have a camping trailer. She's like, "Oh, we can bring the camping trailer down there, and there's a parking lot where you camp at Disneyland, and you don't have to pay for hotels." Like, that is a pretty good price. It was like, all right, you guys go to Disneyland, we'll bring the wives all down there, and they all go to the park while we go to the convention.
What a genius idea! Holy cow! We might have something going on, guys. Here we go.
It's like the price of a one night in a hotel. You can get a whole week of the camping spot. So
really, I didn't know about those. That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Damn, genius. Okay, let's move on to our Daredevil. So we've been watching Daredevil lately, right? We're on the third episode. It was fantastic. And in it, there was a lot of symbolism showing Punisher. So we have some Punisher news. First and foremost, John Bernthal confirms that they have this Daredevil special coming up, basically a small movie coming up. He says it's going to be dark and uncompromising. He knows that,
Daredevil special or Punisher special?
Punisher special. Did I say Daredevil? Okay.
did, yeah.
Okay. Of course, I fucked that up. I always do.
That's it.
Punisher. And so he says, like, this is what we've always wanted to make, but we were restrained over at Netflix. But don't worry, we're not restrained due to maturity on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Which I think if you're watching Daredevil right now, you understand that Disney Plus is okay with mature content now, as long as you have the right setting.
I think they just don't show like blood and gore and guts, but they can show the violence without much issue. Yeah,
and you literally have to turn it on and off on your Disney account. So that is nice that you have that option. So he says, don't worry, that is definitely happening, that we're definitely going to make it feel real. And one of the things that I think is important is when we saw it in Daredevil episode 3, a lot of the cops had the Daredevil logo on their arms, tattooed on them, or on their clothing, or what have you, and it was spray painted on walls. And it reminds me of how, or what it harkens to, is in a real life problem Marvel had. A lot of cops in America would put Punisher logos on themselves, on their cars, and it became a big problem. The citizens of those cities were protesting back, saying, "Hey, you don't know what Punisher means," And the cops would argue that it's like, "Oh, it's because we're never going to let the criminals get away," or something like that. And that's not what Punisher does. Punisher he's
a vigilante.
He's a vigilante, and he's killing people.
Yeah.
He's literally a serial killer. Yeah. And whether or not you like it or not, that's just what Punisher is, and that's not what you want your cop to be. And so it was protests across the country every time somebody police station would do this. Marvel would have to address this. The creator of Punisher, Gary, gosh dang, I don't have it up right now. That's his full name.
It's a long name.
Yeah. And he was even saying, like, guys, you guys are not getting what Punisher's about. I didn't make him to be a hero for cops. He's against cops, should be hunting him.
Exactly.
And so then in response to this controversy, Marvel in Punisher number 13 that came out in 2019, it was part of the 2018 run, put out an issue where a couple cops catch Punisher. They see Punisher and like, "Oh my God, it's you." They take selfies with him and stuff like that. And he's like, "Yeah, we'll have to show everybody in the club." And he's like, "Club? What are you guys talking about?" And he's like, "Yeah, most cops want to put you in the ground, but there's some of us who worship you, yada, yada, yada," and point to a Punisher symbol on their car. Punisher then rips the symbol off, rips it up, and says, "There's only one person who does what I do. You shouldn't want to do what I do. If you're looking for a hero, look to Captain America." And he rips up their logo and then, tells them basically to go F off. And that was Marvel saying, "Screw you guys." And now in the newer Punisher comic books, he doesn't use the skull anymore. He uses like this demon head. So I believe that the next couple episodes of Daredevil will be about that, about cops misusing Punisher's logo and likeness. Punisher's going to have to come out of retirement to address that. And I think that the movie coming up might be about Punisher trying to reclaim his name. Do you think that's something that Disney would want to tackle, Marvel would want to tackle?
It sounds like I guess it's not directly political, but
it's close though, right?
It's the kind of thing that people would fight over, just like they do politics. It takes taking a stance for one side or the other of this specific argument. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Disney really pulling their punches much with any of their newer shows. So I think they've kind of figured what they can and can't do, and they're not afraid to kind of put stuff out there. So yeah, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't go for it.
Yeah, the whole thing for me is it definitely would become political quickly, especially since the logo often used in real life has the thin blue line in there as well, which is also associated with like a political party, making it even more difficult. But I do like the idea of Marvel having to, or wanting to, address a real life issue that has directly impacted them. Like a lot of times you'll see things that are like, "Oh, that reminds me of this character or that character." This is literally something they've dealt with already. And so they have the lawyers, they've fought these cases in court a few times. They've been a part of the protesting against cops using the symbol. I mean, they would have like as a big, like on their hood, giant, the police force. This is the skull. I mean, it just makes sense.
And he's a cop killer. Like he's killed many police in the process.
He hasn't want to, but corrupt ones for sure. Yeah. And like he definitely doesn't hold punches. Like again, Captain America is who you want. Put the shield on the front. But no, it's just, I always love it because it's like these dudes that do this clearly never read a freaking comic book in their life, let alone a Punisher comic book. It's like, go pick it up, guys, before you go like just thinking the skull looks cool, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tricky for Disney though.
It'd be cool to see the internal battle or whatever between the police force. Not necessarily. I mean, Punisher's going to be in the city doing his thing, but this like divide between the police, where some are like trying to explain, like, no, this guy, he killed our brothers in arms, several times, and he's out there he's doing our job, but he's doing it in a way that's illegal. He's stopping the criminals by murdering them, and they aren't getting their due process. Yeah. Meanwhile, the other ones are like, well, yeah, but there's too much red tape, and we can't do our jobs, and these guys are running rampant in the street. He's just putting them on the ground. He's solving the problem. It's like, it would be more, to me, it'd be more entertaining to see the police kind of divide and then have this maybe civil war within the city, within their precinct, of who's on what side. And I mean, hopefully not a full-on war between the police, but fighting for the resources or tricking each other or some kind of feud between two halves of the police would be cool.
One of the wider themes of this season for Daredevil, I mean, it's only been 3 episodes, but it's clearly there, is vigilantism. And Mayor Fisk is clearly against the vigilantes. Daredevil he just got one off out of court, so he's clearly backing him. As much as he's trying to not be Daredevil, he's still backing the vigilantes. And so I think that's going to be amplified going forward. Are these cops who are taking the law into their own hands vigilantes? I would argue yes, bad ones. Yeah. And then we have a villain coming up called Muse. Will Muse be seen as a vigilante? Probably in his own right. In his own mind, he thinks he's being a vigilante, but he's killing people. He's a serial killer. Yeah. But it's like he thinks he's a vigilante. So then but then we saw somebody like White Tiger in this last episode who was a vigilante who, when not wearing his costume or his amulet that gives him strength, still stepped in to try to defend a guy who's getting beaten up. He's a good vigilante. And one of the cops had referenced in the very first episode saying, like, I think the vigilantes are just like us. There are good ones and bad ones. And I think that is going to be the through line for this entire season. Yeah. And I hope that they take this time to kind of address that. Like, there are good cops and bad cops. How do we empower the good ones? How do we catch the bad ones? And that goes forward with the vigilantes as well. You can't just put a blank sheet on all these guys saying they're all bad. And Mayor Fisk is trying to do that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, how do you work with because vigilantes are by definition not following the law.
Right.
So theoretically, legally, they're all bad ones, but you want to partner with the good ones and say, hey, we know, like with Daredevil, hey, we know you're not going to kill the criminals out there, but they overpower us. We can't go hand to hand in combat with these criminals, so we need your help to stop them, but stop them and arrest them, and then allow us to come in and take them into custody and then due process. Like, we need your force, but it needs to be contained within our law. So, how do you, it's at some point it's still excessive force if he's just beating him senseless into the ground. Right. But if there are other mutants or there are other, super people that he's fighting, then it's like, okay, yeah, you're doing something the police can't do. So it kind of balances it justifies the means to stop them.
It's something that we've seen in real life when, like, all cops used to have just a handgun, and then eventually one of the criminals, it was the bank robbery down in LA, they used machine guns, and suddenly everybody wants machine guns, cops too. So it's like just an escalation. This is that next escalation. And I look forward to them debating that out in a courtroom where they can really kind of talk it out. And then it reminds me of Spider-Man. Like, Spider-Man is probably the best case scenario, right? Because he webs people up, and then he leaves them there. They have like an hour in the web. All right, cops, there you go do your arresting. He's right there. And I mentioned this over on social media, like, what is it like for the rest of the MCU that lives in New York right now? Doctor Strange lives in New York, and now all of a sudden Kingpin's the mayor. How are they reacting to all this? I would love to get some little snippets of that, little cameos, That
would be good, yeah. Just like him watching the news, like, what the hell's going on out there? But he's got bigger fish to fry with his...
He does. But so he's like, I might go to another dimension. What the hell? And he just like opens a portal and walks through. Over here, the mayor's like Martha Stewart or something random thing like that. Oh, man.